Welcome to our TUSP Conversations, Gautam, and thank you for taking out the time. So we're talking about the currency of belonging, and you've been talking about it for quite some time. The effects of social connections and bonding on psychological and mental health. How do you see this?
Well, one thing is that loneliness and lack of social connections in the modern population was declared as an epidemic 5 years ago already in the US and many other modern societies that are following the same trends. Right? So to me, loneliness is one of the most painful experiences, and because it's so subjective. Right? You can feel lonely while being in a room filled with people. Right? It's also something that people don't really talk about. Because think about the kind of world that we live in. We live in a world where everybody has an illusion that everyone has 5,000 friends. And that's the world that we live in today, right? But the truth is, the depth of connection that we used to have, we are moving away from it because of certain trends that we're all experiencing right now. Social media is one of them, right? We have the illusion that, I have a perfect life and I have these perfect friends and all of that. But underneath, we know that, it's an illusion out there, right? We believe everybody else is having the perfect life and only we are the ones who are not. So it creates this anxiety, yet at the same time, because we're social animals participating in a social media platform that views that everybody else, that your perception is that everybody else is having a beautiful life, right? So you feel further and further more insecure about yourself. And then you keep that suppressed within yourself, and that further perpetuates the sense of loneliness and alienation from everybody else. That's one. It's one of the leading causes for stress, anxiety, depression. Right? The other one is that we are moving away from our geographical anchors. Like I spoke about this in my TEDx, but this is the first time in human history where the world has become small enough and safe enough for us to, it's a very common narrative. I grew up in Delhi. I lived in a few cities in India. Then I lived in Philippines, in Malaysia, then Paris, now in Spain. And this is very common. And think about this. 50 years ago, this was a rare thing. This was a poor man's choice to move from your geographical location to somewhere else. 200 years ago, it was considered dangerous in almost all parts of the world to move away from your own town or your village. And that's how we lived for millions of years up until 200 years ago. This is the first time in human history the world is safe enough for us to explore our curiosities and express our sense of freedom. But we're also going away from our tribes for the first time in the name of economic interest. Right? Our generation, everyone is moving, at least cities, in the name of economic interest. And that plays a huge role because we're social animals. Our biology responds to it. Right? And also religions used to be the original school that would unite millions of people around the world. And right now, we are abandoning the story of religion because we see certain aspects that are showed or portrayed in the media that are really, really dogmatic and shouldn't really be there. But our generation and the younger generation, everybody is spiritual but not religious. Right? That's the new religion, so to speak. But then we don't have a religious anchor, we don't have geographical anchors, and we're living in this, anti-social society, right? And so for us as social animals, where our survival depends on it, and nobody's speaking about it, and everybody's experiencing it within, is something that is worth considering. And the proof is in the statistics, right? You look at the depression, suicide rates, anxiety rates, like it's crazy. In Paris, where I lived, 1 out of 5 people are clinically depressed. This is statistics from 2016 or 17, if I'm not mistaken. 1 out of 5 clinically, like with the prescription, depressed. Right? And there was a study done study cited by the Surgeon General of the United States, Vivek Murthy, said that that measured your stress responses and stress markers in your body when you're experiencing a sense of loneliness, where you feel like you don't matter to anyone. If you can disappear tomorrow and then it won't be much of a big deal to anyone. A subjective experience of loneliness like that is as bad as being punched in the face by a stranger. Think about that, right? So, and that's the world we are living in, and we are getting more and more isolated. Right? Look at the world that we're living today, even the well-being world. The idea is that outgrow everybody in your environment. You're competing with everybody else. Everybody's competition. Everybody's competition, right? So we are perpetuating that messaging through social media, through different wellness programs. How can you grow out and how can you become a rugged individual? We are, as a society, the culture is it's become a strong proponent of the idea of rugged individual. There is beauty in that, in personal freedom, personal expansion. But I think the pendulum has been shifting too much on the individualism side. And what we're not acknowledging is that our success is not in our individuality, is not in our independence. It is in our interdependence. And so those are the premise that need to show up in the world. And if we don't, then it's only going to get worse.
So, Gautam, what you're trying to say that the social bonds are breaking, the traditional way which was there is disintegrating, right? How do you work on it then?
Mm-hmm. Complex issue. But first is to acknowledge that this is what is happening. Because one of the first things that happens at an individual level, we don't see us being lonely. What we see are the symptoms of what happens when you're feeling lonely. One of the symptoms, weird symptoms that happens when you're feeling lonely is that you wake up multiple times in the middle of the night. Why? Because as it's deeply programmed in our DNA, if you are thrown out of your tribe as a hunter-gatherer, you are there to fend for yourself. And there are big predators in the savannas, right? That you cannot survive alone. So if you have to fend for yourself, you can't sleep a proper sleep all throughout the night. You have to wake up multiple times in the night to look for threats. It is so ancient and so deeply programmed within us, your sleep will start getting disrupted. You will start seeing threats where they are not there. Right? So you will start seeing someone saying something neutral and you will perceive it as negative. Why? Because you're more tuned to look for threats, to look for more attacks outside, even when they're not there. Right? So you naturally start becoming more and more negative. Right? So there are certain, and then your physiology starts to respond. You start to age. Again, your aging starts to go faster. Your hair would turn gray. You lose your hair. You start gaining more weight faster, and all of those things. You go engage in numbing habits, like smoking, drinking, drugs, right? Numbing the kind of pain that we are experiencing. These are all symptoms. So it's very hard to catch that it's stemming out of loneliness. Right? So once we acknowledge that, this could be it, and the research is coming out, it's been only the last 5 years where it's starting to come out from the US, but it's catching up in the world, right? But once we acknowledge it, what are the things we can do? Find things that you're passionate about or you're interested in. Look for people who are engaged in the same activities. Join, like the easiest is to look up events. Like if you're interested in well-being or improving your life, look up spaces where people who are all interested in improving their well-being, where are they going? Physically, not just webinars and stuff. This is part of the reason I do what I do. We create a space which is not about stage to audience relationship. They're not there to just see me, right? They're there because, and that's why we stay there for 3 nights together. Right? They're there to be in a space where everybody has shared values, shared goals, desires and aspirations and same pain points. And going into spaces that are having people with the shared values and mission system is very healing, right? And then once you go to those places, have experiences with them that creates a sense of awe, expansion, shared moments of vulnerability. These are the events, right? So you join a group, join a tribe based on your interest, and then with that tribe, you join some events. It could be a book club, it could be your meeting once a week to play a game, but with the people who share the same goals and aspirations. And this is not new information, by the way. Religions have been doing it for thousands of years. What are religious festivals? It's ways for bringing people together who share the same goals, same aspirations, same morality, same values, and believe in the same myths and stories. And the festivals are places that are short-term experiences. They don't happen throughout the year. Right? One big festival once every 2 to 3 months, right? Where you come together for a short period of time, and there's a sense of connection, sense of awe, excitement, shared moments of vulnerability. It's not just like being experiencing negative emotions. Even laughter, having fun together is also a moment of vulnerability. When you can truly, authentically be happy with someone, it's a moment of vulnerability, right? So these principles have always been there. Now what we need to find is that what are the new ways this is getting expressed? Because we have too much power right now, right? We have full freedom to pick and choose whatever experience we want. Previously, we used to follow just one team, Indian cricket team, right, in India. And the World Cup would happen and 1 billion people will be united. Now, how many teams are there to follow? How many sub-tribes are there to follow, right? So it's changing. The world is changing and finding new ways to express the same need of coming together with people who share the same goals, have same desires and similar values to come together, right? So those people always exist, but we have to choose ourselves right now. Religion used to do that job for us, but technology has given us God-like power and God-like freedom, which also means we have to exercise more willpower to actually make it happen for us. Otherwise, it won't happen. Nobody else is taking care of it for me. It's freeing, but also it's the responsibility is on you. So find places which has people. You can find it online. There's enough groups. You should be resourceful enough to find people who have the same goals as you, and then find spaces where these people come together. And once you have that, that creates a vicious cycle, very beautiful one, right? Where you are with people, spending time with people that share the same goals and aspirations, and you're having meaningful experiences with them, and that leads into new insights, leads into, fueling your what could be your purpose. Doesn't have to be a grand purpose, right? A small purpose, right? But it fuels your purpose because you're with people, you're having shared experiences with them, and your physiology responds to it as well. So your stress goes down, you become more at ease, right? So the wisdom that is deep within also is easier to emerge, right? So that's the cycle.
Yeah. I think very well put, right? You find your tribe, and there are multiple ways to do that now. So on that note, Gautam, thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing the wisdom with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danish.
Yeah,
I hope
thank you.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.